Welcome to the Voice of Health with our host, Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Wellness Center, where lives are changed every day through the natural approach to health care. I'm Lisa Prather. Good morning, Dr. Prather.
Good morning, Lisa.
Well, this is Valentine's season. We just had Valentine's Day. And so we have our annual show topic on sexual health. Mm-hmm. And before we get started, do you have a disclaimer you want to say?
I do. One of the things that, for those who are listening out there, if you have some younger, some children present, mm-hmm. or someone that shouldn't be listening to a sexual talk, this is the time to have them either leave the room or change the channel or whatever you need to do, because we will be talking very openly about sex and its effect on people
and their health, yeah.
And their health. And
they can get on the Voice of Health radio, mm-hmm. the show downloaded if they need to.
Yes, kind of switch to that.
All right. Well, why are we talking about sexual health, Dr. Prather?
Well, sex actually has a huge effect and is actually an important indicator of one's overall health and well-being. Mm-hmm. One of the questions that we always ask people is, do they have a normal libido, sexual desire? Mm-hmm. Because that's a very important indication of one's health. A good, healthy individual has a higher libido than someone who doesn't feel well. So if there is a lack of sexual desire, that is actually an important indication as a doctor that their health may not be up to par.
Well, what is a normal sexual libido? You know, that when you said that, I was thinking,
that's a very good question.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on different ages, mm-hmm. that type of thing. But I would probably say really a good, healthy sex libido would be 2 to 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm. Having sex. All the way you can into your 80s and 90s?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about, sexual health then. You said that's a big important. Can sexual health affect someone's overall health?
Oh, yes. Sex is actually something that plays a very big role in one's health. Mm-hmm. When you're talking about a lot of different types of diseases, if you're talking about cancer, the immune system, your sexual practices has a very big effect on all that. Mm-hmm. One of the things that is very, very true is we catch diseases from other people. Infections, all those different types of things. What is considered sexually transmitted diseases are diseases that can only be transferred through sex, from very close contact, sharing a needle, that type of thing. But quite frankly, if everything that your partner has as on health defects, on infections, mm-hmm. and you have sex with them, you're going to get them all. Wow. So cold, flus, viruses, all those different types of things are very, very easily transferred through sex. So it's not just sexually transmitted diseases which can be transferred, but also all the other different types of infections that people actually carry around.
Well, let's talk about that. How does sex affect the immune system?
Well, one of the things is that we always are carrying around a lot of germs. As a matter of fact, as they test people, once you actually have a virus, you always have the virus for life. It's just like people with shingles. Mm-hmm. That is something that actually is carried in you all the way from childhood, and then it actually comes out as you're older. So all the viruses that you've ever had in your entire life, you actually carry. You also carry, oftentimes, a lot of different types of bacteria and other different types of infections throughout your system. So when you actually have sex with someone, you have all the different types of, you're exposed to all the different types of infections that person has had, plus all the partners that they've had. Mm-hmm. So it's a cumulative type of effect. In other words, people who have a lot of sex with a lot of different people have a weakened immune system. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, when you actually have an immune system that's compromised, Basically, AIDS is a collapse of the immune system. Well, there have actually been reported cases of people who've actually gotten a collapse of the immune system without getting the HIV virus, just because of all the different sexual partners that they've had.
I know sometimes when people get married, they're getting used to each other right after they get married in that first year. Is that they're sicker than they've been?
Sure. It's
Is that getting
very
used to
common
each other's,
type of thing.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to actually get your immune system used to the other person. And it usually takes about 4 years to actually be able to get yourself up to a normal type of level.
Now, can sex have a positive effect on the immune system?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that they find is that people who are monogamous and when they actually have sex together, there is an increase actually in your immune system. There is actually a stimulation of, especially with an orgasm, there is a stimulation of the hormones. There is a balancing of the neurochemicals in the brain. So it actually helps to prevent depression, anxiety, a lot of psychological types of problems that can occur. There's a very strong effect on that. It actually raises up the hormonal levels all the way across so that you're actually healthier. There's an improvement in the immune system. So the old monogamous sex is definitely a very healthy type of thing.
Why are you calling it old?
Well, I mean, the old-fashioned type of thing, what they talk about. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
There is reasons why society has actually encouraged monogamous sex, and that is for the health and well-being of the individuals, for enjoyment, for a good, stable family unit is also a very important part of that. So finding a one sexual partner is the best, healthiest way of actually, living your life. Whereas if you have multiple partners, the more that you have, the more likely you are to actually have breakdowns in the immune system. There's actually a decrease in the hormones that are involved in that. There are real problems that can occur. Even for, having that monogamous relationship later on. They find that having multiple sexual partners before you get married actually can cause an issue for performance later on. Just because the brain is a very interesting type of thing, and one's sex reactions are something that's programmed just like a computer. So if you can have just one partner for your life, then that person is the object of your sexual desire, which actually makes it much easier to actually reach the orgasm. Matter of fact, they find that that the people who have the most satisfying sexual relationships, the most sexual satisfaction, are women who are in monogamous relationships. So,
what about the men?
Well, the men too. I mean, but the women actually outperform the men.
Okay.
So there is a lot of credence to the old values. That there are reasons for that and why that was actually encouraged.
Right. Is there differences between men and women regarding sex and sexual health?
Oh yeah, just the way that men and women respond to sex is completely different. If there was ever like a mistake in nature or by God, you could maybe claim that's it. Because
men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Yeah, there's a completely different types of reactions. The men's sort of like a big quick peak and then a drop.
Yeah.
Whereas women, it's a gradual build-up and then, more of a sustained type of reaction is how you would react, talk about that. So for a man and woman to be able to have a better sexual health and life, the man actually has to delay gratification, shall we say. And
doesn't sound like a mistake from God by me.
No, it's not. Actually, they do find that men have a stronger, that delayed on that actually can create a stronger sexual satisfaction for a male.
Mm-hmm.
So if a
They'll
man,
learn how to be patient.
yes, I mean it's good life lesson anyway.
Uh-huh.
in many different aspects.
Uh-huh.
So, actually being able to coordinate and work on the sexual relationship, it's actually a lot of it's dependent upon the male.
Mm-hmm.
Because the male is the one who needs to, because a woman can't come quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's impossible for her, whereas a man can actually delay gratification. And in that type of instance, it's up to the man to really make that work. And a very interesting report that's done is that marriages, that for the success of the marriage, that the biggest contributor to that was the man on his decisions. Women, all seem to be pretty equal going along the line, but men actually making a decision to be willing to change and conform and to be a support is.
You're talking about in the sexual act?
Well, even in the marriage itself,
Uh-huh.
that was one of the things that really showed up as probably one of the most important things to a happy marriage, was how the man responded to the woman.
Okay, well, we talked about how sexual health affects the immune system. We're talking about how it affects the hormones and brain chemistry.
How would you like a free 60-minute massage at our relaxing spa at the Prather Wellness Center? Each month, we have a random drawing and give away a free massage to one of our lucky Facebook fans. Just hit the like button on your Facebook page, which you can find at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. This is The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather.
Welcome back to The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Wellness Center, the most comprehensive wellness center in the Midwest. Our focus today is on sexual health, and we're talking about how sexual health can affect the immune system, both, it affects it in a good way and in a bad way, depending. Let's talk about how it affects hormones.
Okay. Well, and one of the things is that, of course, hormones affect one's libido, and your desire for sex. So having a orgasm on a regular basis actually does increase one's hormonal output. Very important for a balance and a very, very healing type of thing to have done. So, there's a higher testosterone level. A man's having regular sex on a regular basis keeps
having regular sex on a
regular basis, and every
very
I'm into
regular.
That. So having sex on a frequent basis is something that keeps a man's testosterone high. It also keeps his brain function high level. And so it's very important for women also. It is very important for, preventing depression, anxiety. It keeps weight down.
Now, have you helped
loss.
people in the area, of sexual health?
Yes, that is something that a lot of people actually come in and ask about. And we do have a lot of different types of ways of actually approaching that, depending on the patient's need. I can think of a situation where, one lady came in and she was having trouble in her marriage. And it was, kind of a rocky type of thing. He wasn't communicating. She wasn't happy with him. It had been a while since they had had sex. So things were pretty rocky. We got her on some herbal supplements. And she increased her sexual desire. And funny enough, when they started having sex, he started talking. And they were able to, it really made a huge difference on their marriage.
So, everybody's going to say, what's that herbal supplement? That magic supplement.
Well, there are actually quite a few.
But what you did is, it was hormonal, correct?
It was hormonal, correct. And there's a lot of different ways to approach that. And, I hate to just put out, we have 80,000 different products that we have here in our office, and I can think of 1,000